Hello and welcome, or welcome back to the Sales Enablement Festival. I hope you're enjoying the event so far because we've got even more great content heading your way. Remember to have your questions at the ready and get the tailored answers you need from the experts themselves. Thank you again to our sponsors and partners for helping us bring this event to life. Don't forget, if you're enjoying the content from the festival, be sure to check out the SEC membership plans. You can find more information about this over on the Sales Enablement Collective website. Sit back and enjoy the next talk.
Welcome to everyone from a sunny Cape Town, South Africa. My name is Dave Nell, and I am here today to talk to you about the daunting but fun process of building a sales enablement function from scratch. I myself have had the pleasure of doing this over the last 2-year period, so hopefully some of the things that I have learned you can take away and put into your own functions. So let's jump right into it, should we? We're going to cover a couple of things today. We're going to do a brief introduction to sales enablement and the sales ecosystem. We're then going to move on to probably the place I would always start when building this function, which is coaching, and talk a little bit about why that's important. We'll move on to step one, which is always to define your sales enablement philosophy, or your sales philosophy, shall I rather say, and why that is so important. We'll then move on to how you go about building that coaching culture in your business. And finally, nothing matters if you don't have a plan of action. So we'll talk about how you go about putting that implementation plan into place. Let's look at the first step. And the first step really is about a well-defined process of what sales enablement actually means in your business. There's many definitions floating around there at the moment, that's for sure. When it comes to sales enablement, myself and my colleagues at the Coffee Collaboration and Enablement are quite passionate about finding a universal definition when it comes to sales enablement. And there you have it up on the screen for you. Sales enablement is really the process that supports sellers with training and content to help them get buyers through the sales function or sales funnel as quickly as possible. Let's just look at that one more time. Sales enablement is the process that supports sellers with training and content to help them guide buyers through the sales function or sales funnel. Knowing a definition might sound like a remedial task, but it's really important to help you know for your team, for your function, what is on task and what is off task. I have no doubt that as soon as you start adding value, you're going to find that it's easy and alluring to get sucked into many projects across your business. And that charter or that definition is really going to help you make sure that you stay on track and look at the context of the full sales enablement ecosystem. I also think what is helpful is to look at how your whole ecosystem fits into the bigger picture. And I find this illustration that I've just put up for you from the guys at Growth Matters in South Africa to be an incredibly useful one. Often sales enablement plays an element of coordination and alignment across all the different functions that you get in a sales ecosystem. While your ecosystem might vary from the framework presented by Growth Matters International, what is key is to be aware of the different parts that need to be taken up in order to create a fully functional ecosystem. If you're starting building sales enablement function, then there are two places I would start. The first one would be defining your sales philosophy, and the second one would be shifting your leaders to coaches. In this session, we will talk through the basic plan, which you can evolve into your own unique business in order to drive revenue through sales coaching. And hopefully, you'll start to find that that plan is something that with some effort will really start driving and lifting revenue for your business. So you've got your sales ecosystem, you know the different players that you've got, and now it's really about making a case for your sales enablement ecosystem. And I love this quote by CSO Insights, which really shows that businesses with a strong sales coaching culture significantly outperform those who fail to do so. right? Those businesses that have that strong coaching culture of their salespeople will always outperform, and I like the word significantly as well. So there's your case right there when it comes to building a strong sales enablement ecosystem. But let's take a look at how to bring this foundational part of your high performance or high performing sales team to life. So today we're going to talk a little bit about how you might go about starting from scratch your function with a focus on coaching in your business. The idea is to give you a few steps to think about when building your sales enablement function. I'd highly suggest that you adapt these to the culture of your business, the skill level of your sales leaders, and also of your salespeople. And most importantly, you need to align to your sales philosophy, which we're going to talk about shortly. So let's jump into it. Normally, something has happened in your business that triggers the decision to build a sales enablement function. It could be that a new competitor has entered into the market. You find that growth is plateauing, or that shareholders have asked for an increase in return faster than normal. Whatever it means, or whatever it is, there is a need. And I find this definition of sales velocity to be an interesting one for you as a sales enablement practitioner to hold in the back of your head. And really, sales velocity is the speed at which your team or your business is making money. Some people like to call it your miles per hour, or your money per minute, if you want to call it like that. And it looks at the full sales ecosystem, right? How many leads are being brought in? What is the average deal size? What is the conversion ratio? And what is the average time to convert? When you think about your sales enablement function, you're really always trying to work with a combination of all of these factors. But ultimately, it's to drive revenue. And you've got to align that sales enablement function back to what matters to the business. So the first step, I guess we said, is that there's been a couple of triggers. Something has happened. Make sure that you have taken time to consult with your business leaders to understand what it is that they're trying to solve. Right. My guess is that there's normally comes down to one or two things, but basically they want to increase share of wallet on existing clients, or they're looking to increase number of new clients. It's one of those two things or a combination of them. But be specific with your leaders. Some questions that I think might help you before diving in and building this function is ask them, what will success look like in the next 6 to 12 months? For you, leader, for you, divisional head, what does success look like over the next 6 to 12 months? What is the shift in revenue that you're looking to achieve, right? What is it actually the number on the table that I need to help you with when building out the sales enablement function? What other financial ratios are important, and how do we see these ratios changing? So some guys will use cost to income ratios, some guys will use ROE, ROI. Is it just bottom line? What is it that we're trying to drive? The reason you want to do this is to really help with change, right? You want to make sure that you need a carrot, a motivator. You need something that ties back all the work that you're going to do as a sales enablement practitioner to the business. You've got to get them moving. And normally there's nothing like a goal or a target financially to help your leaders move. If your efforts are not closely linked to revenue, it's unlikely that you're going to get the buy-in from your leaders that you need. So go and do the explore. That would be the first step before doing anything on my side. The second step is definitely to define your sales philosophy. What is a sales philosophy? Well, it's the way in which you win. It's an easy way to think of it is if you are interviewing a salesperson for a role in your company and they ask you the question, what is selling like here? Or what philosophy do you follow when selling? What would your answer be? It's important that this is a collaborative process between you and your sales leaders. You need that definition, and you need to do it with the business and not on your own in a little room with a piece of paper. After all, they're the ones who are going to live this every day. This philosophy is something that should be easy to articulate in one or two sentences and that resonates with the culture of your business. Why take the time to do this? You might ask me. You might say, Dave, this feels like a mundane exercise. Well, if it's closely linked to revenue, um, then you will be able to take that philosophy as the foundation for what you're building, right? So if you link closely to revenue, which is already your motivator, and then you think about your sales philosophy, it's going to help you build the foundation that you want. Without it, your efforts are going to feel scattered. You need a guiding truth, I guess, some kind of true north for your team to follow. Each company will have something slightly different. There certainly is no right and wrong here. There is simply right for your business. What other sales philosophies are irrelevant to yours. This is your question around why do you win? When we sit in front of our customers, whatever that may look like, what is our process? Why do we win? Without knowing that, it is going to be very difficult to build a function of sales enablement around your leaders and your salespeople. Step number three for me is really build the supporting elements for your sales philosophy. Um, what you're doing here is putting the meat on the bone. Because you already have a sales philosophy, you're now asking questions. What do I need to support this? And what do I need to take that mantra, that sales philosophy, that way of selling in our business? What do I need to bring that to life? Some questions that you might want to start thinking about is, what is the sales process or methodology that we would think would best fit or bring our sales philosophy to life? So what is that methodology we're going to put into the business? And there's a lot of them out there. Sales courses are a dime a dozen, and you have to go and find the one that works for you. I would highly recommend talking to some of your sales leaders on this journey, and also maybe taking them with on the journey. Let them co-create with you. After all, they're the ones who are going to have to coach the methodology that you put in place. Another thing that you might want to ask is, what are the skills needed for our salespeople to live our sales philosophy? When doing this, maybe a gap analysis might be a useful thing to do. Right? So jump in, go and take a look at what's happening at the moment and see how far we are away from that source of truth, or that perfect sales philosophy. And then ask yourself, where is the biggest opportunity? Because I'm sure you're going to find a lot of things. What sales training can we put in place to enable or support our sales philosophy? Might be another question that you want to ask. And then, of course, a little bit of a look at your leaders, because those are the guys who are going to make things come to life. What is the current state, the competency of your sales leaders in the business? You might want to think about how you would assess this. Again, this is dependent on your culture of your business. You could do a survey of your salespeople. You could do some observation of your leaders, or you could even do some kind of self-assessment that leaders do themselves. Again, it is key to understand what is the culture of your business. Each step needs to be adjusted slightly depending on your own internal culture. Without this, you run the risk of really being rejected by your business. They're going to feel that the sales enablement practitioner is someone who doesn't understand us, someone who sits on the outside. Let's look at our fourth step that I've got for you. That fourth step is really to find the coaching methodology that works for your organization. So you've done step one, which is finding the sales methodology that works for you. But the fourth step is that you really need to think about, what about the coaches? What about my sales leaders? Make sure that you link this back to both the culture of your business and the gaps that you've identified when you did that coaching assessment. What is key here is focus, no question asked. This is about your sales. So be clear that you're putting in a sales coaching process. There are many, many things that you can coach in a business. What we are coaching is sales. You want to make sure that you're giving your leaders a clearly defined coaching methodology and linking it back to sales. A lot of sales leaders do not know a methodology to follow when it comes to coaching. So you've done all the groundwork, right? You've done all this groundwork. You've found your sales philosophy. You've done the research. You've linked it back to revenue for the business. You've looked at sales methodologies. You've figured out the right one for your team. And you've also found a coaching methodology. So you've done a lot. Now, of course, you start to ask the question, uh, how do I make this live, right? I'm going to leave you with 3 questions you need to be able to answer to bring the sales philosophy to life. Think about this as your time to go and sell, right? Your time to go and sell. Your case for change. I saw this presented by a company called Achieve Global, which is now part of Korn Ferry and previously Miller Hyman. And I found it so incredibly important. The first one is I know, right? I know. Sorry, I skipped a slide there. I know. Are your leaders clear, committed, and aligned to the direction that you want to take? When I say your leaders, I'm referring to the leaders of your sales coaches, your divisional heads, your regional heads. Spend time with your senior leaders. Without them, your efforts are going nowhere. Ask yourself, do they know why coaching is important? Do they know what their role is in this ecosystem? And have they gotten a clear communication plan for their teams? Right? So do they know what they're going to do? And that is really focused on your senior leaders in the business. Then we jump into the slide that I was showing you earlier, which is the I care. We're switching focus to your coaches, right? Are your coaches on board with this strategy of coaching? Ask yourself a couple of questions, perhaps. Do they understand the ask? Are they committed to it? Can they clearly describe how they fit in? Key, right? Have they observed the behavior in their leaders? Have they been involved in the planning? These are lots of questions that you can ask yourself hand on heart, that as I launch this ecosystem that I'm creating, have I made sure that my sales coaches care, that they've been part of the process, that they see the behaviors emulated by their leaders, and that they understand why this is so important? And then the last one is the I can, right? Again, to your coaches and potentially even to their leaders, you might ask the question, are we getting the results that we want? You put the coaching in, however you don't really see the shift, right? Ask yourself, do leaders have the skills they need to coach, right? Sometimes you've put everything in place, but for some reason, you're not seeing the shift that you want. Ask yourself that question. Do leaders have the skills that they need to coach? Have you given them the tools that they need? And how are you coaching and reinforcing them, right? What are you measuring and what are you rewarding? These things are important in the I can side of the model, right? Making sure that you've given people the tools to succeed, making sure that you've trained them on the content, they know it, making sure that you're measuring and rewarding the right behaviors. Is it clear to them what matters? So let's put it all together. Hopefully you can see how important each step is. And if one step is missing, your efforts are pretty much going to fail or likely to fail. And I like this kind of model that you can see over here, right? The I know part will clearly show you that if something is missing, your business is going to think that it's not urgent, right? That's really what's going to happen. If you don't get those senior leaders bought in and part of the process, you're going to find that your bigger business says this isn't urgent. Or they might think it's not real, right? Yeah, is that something that's actually going to happen? Is coaching really expected? Do you really expect us to follow the sales methodology? Is the sales philosophy really true? The second one is I care. If you haven't put in that effort of making sure that your sales coaches really care about what they're doing, what you're going to find is that they're either going to say, it's not worth it. I'm busy as a sales coach. I'm busy as a sales leader. I don't have time to coach. It's not worth it. Or they may say, it's not going anywhere. This is another one of those things that the business is launching. It'll be here for 3 months and then it's going nowhere. So make sure that you've taken the time in the I care category to really work with those sales coaches and sales leaders. Take them on the journey, make them part of the process. And then you can see the last one over here is really that concept of I can, all right? If you don't spend time making sure that the tools are in place, the training is in place, the measurables, the reinforcement, the reward is there, people are going to say, this is not possible. I can't do it. My leaders have given me a strong call to action. I understand why it's important, but no one's helped me learn how to do this. So make sure that you've also reinforced that sales enablement ecosystem. And they may say, this isn't going to last long. You're not even rewarding me for it. You're not even measuring it properly. So why on earth is this going to sit? Why is it going to stay? Right? So really think about that full framework. I know, I care, I can. And as a sales enablement practitioner, if you've got a strong sales philosophy, you've defined it. If you've also got a strong sales methodology and a strong coaching methodology that you've bought into, and you're able to link it back to revenue for the business. That's key. Link it back to revenue for the business. Remember that objective that the business is trying to achieve, that sales velocity, the speed at which you're making money. Link back your efforts to that. And then go all the way back to that definition, that original definition of sales enablement right at the beginning. Sales enablement is the process that supports sellers with training and content to help guide them through help them guide buyers through the sales function, right? Again, sales enablement is the process that supports sellers with training and content to help them guide buyers through the sales function. So really spend time on asking yourself the question around, I know, I care, I can. This is a fantastic journey to go on for those of you who are doing it. I'm very, very happy to speak with anyone, be a thinking partner. I certainly don't know all the answers, but together, I guess we can ask the tough questions and figure them out. Please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. Unfortunately, I'm not here for the Q&A session today, but I'm always happy to contact or connect with anyone afterwards. Remember, in closing, you took the time to clearly define what the ask was. You tightly linked it back to business objectives. If you can't measure it, how can you improve it? Make sure you are crystal clear on the outputs that your business expects from you. Then switch your focus and remember that every organization is different, every single one, and you need to link everything back to the culture of your business, no question asked. Take the time to really define why you win. What is your sales philosophy? And after all, this is at the heart of what your coaches are going to coach on a macro scale. It's that sales philosophy. It's so key. And then finally, building your sales ecosystem around your sales philosophy, always remembering the I know, I care, I can questions. Good luck, and I look forward to hearing from some of you.